Hello, welcome to Interview Combat. We need a sound effect here. Kind of explosion. Hey, I am GM Jim from Wizards and Wordslingers, and I'm here with Ignatius from Tabletop Alchemy. Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
I am doing well. How about yourself?
I am doing A-okay.
So what we are doing now, this is a brand new interview show where I have a series of hard and soft questions, and we are going to compete. We are going to roll dice to see whether Ignatius gets the hard questions or the soft questions by rolling a d20, and I will roll a flat d20, and Ignatius will roll a d20 plus. How many years have you been YouTubing? I guess that's the pre question.
I guess we'll go off Tabletop Alchemy. It'll be 1 year. We're rolling up on 1 year very soon.
All right. So we'll add 1 to your rolls. If you win, you get a soft question. If I win, I get a hard question. You also get 1 counter spell or counter question per interview. Although if you roll a nat 20, you get to bank a counter spell. Or if I roll a nat 1, you get to bank a counter spell.
All right.
I think we'll just try that. Try that, see how it goes. Right on. So here's our first contested roll. Let's see.
All right.
Can you beat a 9?
Of course. Oh,
a 4 or a 5.
Break.
So
that sounds about right.
We'll start off with the hard-hitting journalistic questions.
Oh boy.
All right, here you go. As a content creator, how do you handle criticism and differing opinions from viewers, especially when it comes to controversial topics within TTRPGs? This question is also known as, do you read the comments?
Well, I do read the comments, all of them, and my channel's small enough that I haven't stepped into the realm yet where I've gotten mean comments. So that's kind of a but I do think about that sometimes, or I think about the possibility of that or whatever, right? But I mean, at some point, and maybe this just has to do with age, you got to just, water ducks back, that sort of thing, right? I don't know. I certainly don't think I would ever really engage too much with like purely negative stuff. But I also try to keep in mind, like I look for genuine criticism, right? Or genuine points. If somebody's making a legitimate point and it's different from what I think or whatever, that's completely valid. I don't take that away from anybody, right? It's like there's stuff I like or stuff I don't like that someone else might like. So I always feel like the goal is to have genuine discourse, right? Or genuine conversation. If it's just vitriol for vitriol's sake, I mean, that's just a waste of time, and I'm sorry, but time is the most valuable thing I've got, so I'm not going to waste it on some things like that. But I do think that people that have like a lot of comments, or people that, channels that get like a lot of comments, and you get like a lot of stuff like that, I think that can become psychologically hard to deal with. Like just the nature of seeing it scroll past if you read your comments or whatever, right? It's just gonna. We're all human, right? It's you got to work hard to be Zen. I think that's why there are Zen masters that have taken years to get to that place, right? I don't know. Yeah.
Sounds like maybe you're not opinionated enough, because my channel is way smaller than yours and I get plenty of mean comments.
Oh, geez. Yeah. I mean, I just feel like that's just other people playing a game, right? They're spending their time the way they want to, which is, in my opinion, an asinine way to spend your time.
Yeah.
But hey, whatever. If people are going to do what they're going to do. Yeah, that kind of sucks. I feel that sucks. So how do you, you're probably in a better position to answer that question. How do you deal with it?
98% of comments are positive, and so I just have to remind myself that a lot of YouTubers, a lot of particularly people on YouTube, I mean, not content creators, but people on YouTube are a lot of pedantic asshats. So you just have to just expect that from the TTRPG community. Sometimes I engage the trolls. Sometimes if I'm feeling like you said, the water off the duck's back, I will just reply, thanks for the comment. Thanks for the comment is my passive aggressive
Sure.
passive aggressive standard response, but I have gotten in a flame war or two. Also, I just now noticed that sword in the background.
Yes,
Really
sir.
boss. That's awesome.
Very cool. Yeah, it's a viewer gave me 2 swords. That's the smaller one, and he
I
made
saw
them.
your video. Yeah, I
it
saw
was
your video on that.
crazy.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that the larger one's too big to like take weight on the wall unless I find like a stud somewhere. So I have to lean it into the shot every time I set that up. But this one has got 2 nails sort of hanging it up. But
nice.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Nice.
But
all right.
Yeah.
Round 2.
All right.
Let's see. You need to beat a 13.
Look at 2 4s. That's another 5. What can I say but that I'm consistent? Come on, man.
Here you go.
Consistency is half the battle.
Maybe you're just looking for the deeper, more probing interview questions.
All right. That makes me sound much more smart. Let's do that.
There you go. Here's your second hard question. What do you think of WotC's shenanigans in 2023? How does the phrase WotC shill make you feel?
Yeah. So I saw that stuff go down, right? I just sort of watched it all from the periphery. I'm not super. This is kind of a weird thing. I was going to say I'm not super invested in WotC. Like I don't pay for D&D Beyond or anything like that. But D&D is kind of my exclusive role-playing game at this point. I know I should try other games and stuff, and I do have other books that are coming to check out. But I've always been sort of just D&D centric. Now, when their stuff went down recently, and I found out more about who had been put in charge, like who had been hired in as like the CEO and the executive levels, right? When I started to see where those people were coming from, when I saw like the executives were coming from Microsoft and their backgrounds, it was like, it seemed very like, like, yeah, this is this just seems like logical. I thought it was pretty awesome that so many people, it was like there's so many channels out there that, not through faults of the channel, but because to feed the algorithm, I don't say meaner, but the darker headlines capture more views, right? So it's always like, because another big whale in this niche is Games Workshop, right? Who makes Warhammer. So they also get the same kind of audience reaction. Like everybody plays the game, but everybody loves to bash on them as far as their corporate practices go. And it's all legitimate arguments, right? But they're huge companies, and they're beholden to shareholders, which is a problem that maybe society in general needs to deal with. But because of that, they're going to do certain things, so it's not a surprise. But I was pretty surprised when everybody, like people, pulled their subscriptions, right, from D&D Beyond, to the point that it made them actually react. And that was like something I've always said to a lot of people, like, hey, if you don't like something, you have to like, you can literally do only one thing, which is vote with your dollars, right? And you either choose to do that or not. And I was so surprised that so many people were able to do that it made an actual impact. It was like, wow, that is a mark of hope, right, for consumers. And I don't expect WotC to stop the shenanigans. They're going to become more subtle about things, right? They're going to get better at being subtle, but there's no way around it, right? Their aim is to make money for shareholders. That's just what they're going to do. Now it's up to the audience or the consumers to play the game they want to play, right? Treat it how they're going to treat it. But so it's, I'm not going to say I don't fault them, because big corporate action like that doesn't have the human being in mind, and that's a problem, right? Dollar signs are just a problem. But it's also, we live in this weird society choice where we want capitalism and we all want to get rich, but then we also don't want to be taken advantage of. But we kind of, we're living in a world that requires that to happen. And I don't know. I just think I like to look on, and I find it all very entertaining. What do you think about what was your reaction to the whole situation?
Yeah, you're 100% right. We live in a capitalist society, and WotC is a company, and they want to make money. And the people out there who are the maddest about what they've done don't understand that they can't just give away all their products for free and everybody live in a shiny, happy world. They need to make money, and they need to make more money. And when they said, what did they say in the investor call last year? Something like that D&D was under monetized. Yeah. They said something like that, and when I first heard that, I thought, oh, maybe that means like we'll get more D&D socks, more plushies, or whatever. Right. But then it turns out what they meant was that they're going to monetize us. That was really
you are the product, right?
But yes, exactly. I have mixed feelings about it. I know that I wish they were cooler, but at the same time, they want to make money. And when the stuff like the Pinkertons thing happened, the guy with the magic cards,
right.
That was kind of like, that's just the result of companies getting bigger. As companies get bigger, there are more people making decisions across different things, and this department over here doesn't know what this department is doing. And so the department that should have known better wasn't able to stop the department that did the bad thing, because big companies are large machines and they have lots of moving parts, and it was a dumb thing that they did, and they should have known better.
I mean, how crazy was that headline? Just the actual word Pinkertons, right? I was so like, what is going on here, man? Like, this is so crazy.
Sending the Pinkertons after like it's 1925. Yeah, it felt like an episode of Boardwalk Empire. Exactly. All right, let's do it again. Round 3. Here we go. Ignatius, you need to beat a 8.
Oh, it worked that time.
Did it. Here we go. Here's your softball question. How did you start with tabletop games?
That is pretty bizarre that you asked that question today, because I just uploaded a video that is my origin of D&D, my D&D origin story, how I found it. So I can't really give it away here. But suffice it to say, I did not start. I started late in the game. I'll give you that much at least. I had an initial encounter when I was young, like grade school level, but that didn't take. And then it wasn't until late high school era that I actually got into it. And it was D&D first, and following D&D, I went from D&D into Shadowrun, and then in Shadowrun is when I encountered miniatures, and then that opened up the whole world of miniatures and everything. I didn't know there was, like, I didn't know about Warhammer. I didn't know about any of this other stuff, right? In fact, I didn't even know people used miniatures in D&D at that point, right? So it was just, so everything kind of opened up in that sort of later era, where a lot of people, I think, seemed to have started younger. It seemed like they were like 12, 13. They had a group of friends. I was always jealous of like the movie neighborhoods, right? The like in like movies, you'd see like Spielberg kids neighborhoods, right? And their bedrooms and their friends and walkie-talkies. And I was like, I lived in the desert in a cul-de-sac and had like one friend on the street, and it was like, man, I didn't get to do any of that cool stuff. But yeah, anyway. So and I guess I would say the only other thing I could say, one key factor in getting me into the start of D&D was picking up the Dragonlance, the first Dragonlance books. I had picked those up, and then a friend of mine told me, well, those came from Dungeons and Dragons, and I was like, oh, well, let's check that out now. So yeah, that's my short answer.
Yeah, well, damn Spielberg for setting up all these unrealistic expectations of childhood.
God, the bedroom production design I was like, look at, they have all the toys. They have an upstairs in their house.
Hey, we're about halfway through here. Why don't you give us a little plug for your channel? Tell us about Tabletop Alchemy.
Sure. Tabletop Alchemy on YouTube is a variety channel within the tabletop hobby niche. So I play and talk about and discuss things from role-playing games to skirmish games and war games and model making, miniature painting, terrain building. And then I also throw in a lot of sort of out of left field philosophical concepts that I just sort of riff on and how they extrapolate or how I can tie them into our hobby. And I just kind of talk about stuff that I like, that I find interesting that week. So new videos every Thursday, Tabletop Alchemy, check it out.
Nice. So let's go again. I'll also remind you about your counter spells. Or if it feels weird,
yes. All right.
now that I'm thinking about it, if it feels weird, then you don't want to be like, I don't want to answer that question. If you don't want to say that, we could use your counter spell as like giving yourself advantage, or a silvery barbs if you want to make me re-roll.
Oh, there we go. That's nice. Okay, cool. All right, I'll keep that in mind.
Making up rules on the fly like a real GM. All right, here we go.
That's exactly right.
Ooh.
Yeah.
All right. I thought that was my 18, but that was your 18. All right. Here's your second softball question. How did you get into YouTubing?
Oh, that's interesting. Well, I don't even know why I said that. That's like a canned response. So I got into YouTubing through a different channel where I made my first foray into YouTubing was making Minecraft Let's Play videos, and that was years ago. And I don't know, there was just something when I got into Minecraft. I got into Minecraft as an adult, like just, you know, a few years ago, whatever. And I just liked the Let's Play thing. I don't know, there was something about there's something about making a product on your own. You know, like I could take make something without having to go and hire a crew and schedule actors and all this stuff, because I have a filmmaking background, and something about that was appealing to me. Like I could make something right. Now you're a writer, so you write and you make your product, you know, on your own, and that's so you probably kind of get the gist, right? When you're trying to put together a group of people, that's a whole bunch of infrastructure and everything else. So there was something that appealed to me about the YouTube thing, just from the pure production aspect. Like I could make just something, right? In general, just I want to make something. So it was the idea that I could do it and do it on my own, and didn't have to worry about other things or whatever. But so yeah, I got into it through that, and I made a couple of sort of Lego videos on a different channel, and then I kind of got burned out playing Minecraft. You know, play a video game every day for a year. I was like, I can't. I don't understand people who could do this for 7 years in a row. But so I like burned out on that, and I had a couple of cool viewers on that channel, and they were like, hey, have you ever thought about live streaming, like on Twitch? I was just like, well, no, why would I do that? That's crazy, right? And then I tried it, and I live streamed for 2 years, and that was actually pretty cool. That was a pretty cool experience. Like just the idea of getting to know, you know, you could chat with the same people every day. They drop by and you'd hang out, and we had this whole, like, it was just an interesting thing. I've never really experienced something like that. You know, and you're talking to people in different countries, and it was just interesting. It was really cool. I eventually burned out playing Minecraft again over time. And then I just stopped all that YouTube stuff until just recently. And I always was into the tabletop hobby and everything. And I just finally decided, I think I want to do this. And I wanted to make really sure. That's why my channel is a variety, like a variety show in the niche, right? I want to make sure that I alleviate this possibility for burnout. That's a real problem that I know that I'll have. So I have to keep an eye on that. But anyway, yeah, it's cool. So I don't know. That was a long answer to the softball question.
No, that was great. It's all good stuff. All right, here comes our next roll. Come on, roll. All right, can you beat a 9?
Ooh.
And you can.
Yes, I can.
All right, what makes a good TTRPG player?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. I think like the bottom line is just someone who wants to be there. just at the base level, right, is somebody who hasn't been dragged to a game, or somebody who's there and doesn't really want to be there. That's the bottom line. Because if you have someone who wants to be there, everything else can kind of stem from that. I feel there are other factors, of course, but to me, like that's the bottom line, that they want to be there. You know, there's nothing worse than somebody's just there sort of half-assed or just half there and they don't really want to be there. It's just like, then just stop wasting everybody's time, you know, whatever. So that to me would be like number one. And number two is just someone who's not I don't know if you're going to bleep stuff out in this game or whatever, or this interview, but just don't be an asshole. That's all. Don't be a dick. Be cool. You know, someone who wants to be there and someone who's cool. And that is like super generic and broad, I understand, but we all kind of know what that means, you know. Yeah, you know, someone who's because the reason I find it hard to like bring up specifics is because people aren't super specific. You know what I mean? Like people are just different. There are great players who can be fun to be around and be with, and they'll have different approaches. One, you know, someone could be more grandstandy and like to take the spotlight, but if they're cool, they'll do that, but then they'll give other people space. That's what I mean. Like, they'll be cool. And there's other people who don't want to be grandstandy, or they're embarrassed to do like role play, right? So they don't want to actually act out stuff, and that's totally cool too. You know, that's fine with me, as long as they're cool and having fun. I think it's all good. So that's why I hesitate to pick out specific traits or say this is good and this is bad. It's really just more about, you are who you are, a player is who they are, and they have their personality, as long as they're cool with everybody, right? And they don't make problems. Now, it's a social situation, of course, you know, and we're always going to have issues come up between people over time. But anyway, I don't know. That's my base level answer, I suppose. Want to be there and be cool.
That's well said. That's an interesting take on it. And speaking of that, I joined this in-person group recently, and there's a husband and wife that come, and the husband is very invested, fully in, but the wife, she also has a Bible study at the same time. So she's got her AirPods in for the whole session doing this Bible study.
Yeah.
And all she does is every once in a while, he'll put a D20 in her hand and be like, roll that one. And then she rolls it. And then, you know, she hits, he'll put a D8 in her hand, roll that. And so I was annoyed by it at first, but now I just pretend that she's not there. It's basically,
right. Yeah. Because she's not really there. Right. She's,
yeah.
Yeah, that's a perfect example. But again, it's also an example of life in general and being in a group dynamic. I mean, so he's got to have so they're having some spouse time together at D&D table. One of them doesn't want to really be there. You know, we all can deal with that. But yeah, it's a dynamic flux of stuff, I guess. That's a Bible study at the same time. That's awesome.
Yeah, I don't know. Who knows? All right, next round. I forgot what round we're on, but here we go.
I want to burn a counter spell or something. Oh, see, now I could burn a counter spell, but I kind of want one of the tougher questions now. So I'm choosing to stay with my 2. I'm going to cash my counter spells in at the end for cash money. That's what I'll do.
Did I promise you cash money? Yeah. Okay. All right. Here you go. This is kind of fun. Do you fudge dice rolls? No, really. You can tell me.
Yeah. I mean, I don't buy for a second there's a DM that doesn't fudge dice rolls, whether they say so or not. That's impossible. It's impossible, and it would actually be in some cases just mean to not fudge dice rolls at some point, at some time, in some particular instance, maybe. I don't know. I feel like that's the prerogative of the DM, though. Like, I don't feel the DM has to, it needs to not fudge dice rolls at all. That's not the prerogative. It's kind of like that's the, I want to say the purview. Of course, it's purview, but it's like the intrinsic point of the DM. The dice roll is sort of like an representation of what the DM is doing, right? But the DM is like, you're floating this boat. You're making this thing happen. So I don't see any problem with that. I don't think that you want to tell your players that, like, you want to maintain this illusion, right, that you're rolling or whatever. That's part of the game, right? That's part of creating the experience, is maintaining this illusion. That's actually difficult to do, or maintaining the the suspension of disbelief or whatever. So yeah, I fudge dice rolls sometimes. Sometimes I don't even roll dice. I mean, sometimes I'll just make decisions on what's happening or whatever. But I don't ever do it. I mean, that could be taken way out of context, or like as if I mean something that I don't. I don't ever do anything like that is actually affecting what the players are doing, or taking agency away from players. I never do that, right? I don't ever like do something that's usurping their part of the game. But yeah, fudging dice rolls is it happens sometimes. 100% for sure.
Can you think of a situation where you wouldn't roll?
Sure, there might be. Yeah, so like I'm trying to think of like the last game I played, if there was one where I just flat out didn't even make a roll. Sometimes, now this might be, I don't know, I have no idea. I'm not so in tie with a lot of the D&D community, so I might be getting set up to get some of those comments that you've been talking about. I don't know. But like, so
sound off below.
So like there was a time where I didn't roll for a enemy for an enemy model or enemy NPC or whatever monster. I didn't bother to roll for the 2-hit or for 2 damage. I just faked it and just said it hit this person. And I did that specifically not to just rain damage down on it. It was actually because I was trying to add more. I was trying to give the players some more drama in this particular battle, right? It's just like sometimes dice rolls, which is totally fine if you run with them, that's fine. But I could almost sense the players maybe getting a tick bored with the situation, right, as it was occurring. And so I just had to inject a little bit of drama. So I didn't bother rolling, because I knew that I needed some action to happen that put them a little bit more on edge. So I just said, this is what happens, boom, boom. And I just rolled with that, and it wasn't like a big deal. I don't think they noticed or anything like that. It's just, that was a particular moment where I chose as a DM to affect, without relying on chance. I was like, they need a little bit of fun. They need a little bit of something here. So I did that. No big deal. Well, I mean, I really feel that's the DM's job, right? Is to try to keep, you're making an experience for the players. So if you leave everything up completely to chance all the time, I just don't believe there's a DM that does that. I don't believe there's a DM that does that 100% of the time, just everything flat out to chance. I can't see how that would work or not result in, if everything's just completely left up to chance 100% of the time, then you're always running the risk of having a boring game. I guess. Yeah. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. I think, though, that there are a lot of people out there on the social medias that would disagree and think that, I guess maybe not a lot of people, but there is a very vocal percentage of people who think that the dice are sacrosanct, or at least claim that the dice rolls are sacrosanct, and any changing of what the dice actually say is a betrayal of yada yada. But no, I completely agree with you. I don't like to think of the DM as a referee. I like to think of the DM as an arbiter of fun. Yeah, when I'm behind the screen, it's my job to try to make sure that fun is being maximized in every way. And, when you're a group of players, sometimes it's fun to roll up to the boss and completely annihilate them in 2 rounds. And then sometimes you do that and it's entirely disappointing.
Exactly.
So, I've run those boss fights where I'm rolling for the boss and it's like a 5 to hit, 9 to hit, 12 to hit, 3 to hit. And I'm just like 3 rounds go by and my boss can't do any of his cool stuff. And makes me feel bad that I'm like, I want my players to feel some tension,
Right.
drama. You know, I want them to succeed, but it has to feel at least a little bit earned.
Sure. And
Yeah.
like, I think you can, yeah. And I think you would also like, you're kind of saying it. If you're rolling those little rolls, but your players are having a good time, right? They're enjoying that particular hammering of that boss, then you might just stay with those little rolls and not adjust it and just let them hammer on it, right? And it's it's hard to, because when you DM, it's all on the fly and you're always making decisions just on the fly, right? It's always in the moment and you're trying to DJ that experience, right? And let it go. I mean, I'll do a lot of dice rolling in the open too at the same time. I don't really use a DM screen a lot of times, again, that's just a choice. Some people do, some people don't, like it. I kind of there are those people, you have to respect the dice and everything else. And then the next question I have is, well, do you use a DM screen? And a lot of those people say yes. And it's like, well, then why are you using a DM screen? If you're not going to fudge your dice rolls at all, then why do you even have a DM screen? Well, I understand you're going to hide some paperwork, but
yeah,
dice rolls in the open. But I also like that, but I'll do hidden rolls sometimes if I feel like it. Like, I don't know, it all depends on the situation. But yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, I do most of my dice rolling out in the open too. The things that I always roll in secret would be things like enemy perception checks or insight checks or deception.
Sure.
Things that I feel like it would enhance the fun for the players not to know what the enemy is doing.
Right. Yeah.
So we're past 30 minutes. Should we call it, or do you want to do one more?
That's up to you, man. I'll do one more. I'm down.
Let's do one more. Our final round. Let's see.
Let all the stops.
Come on, dice roller.
Ooh,
nat 20.
Nat 20. All right. That means what? You're going to pick the hardest question in the list?
You have to answer 5 questions, rapid fire. All of them are terrible things. Here's one. Maybe this is sort of bouncing off the last thing we just discussed. Can you think of a mistake you've made behind the GM screen? Something you wish you'd done differently?
Jeez. There's no end to the mistakes I've made behind the GM screen. I mean, come on. I mean, I can bring up one specific example just from my most recent game sessions, which to be honest hasn't to be clear I haven't played in a couple of months. So this was a few months ago. But yeah, I kind of got into a situation. It was a combat situation. So the players were fighting some pirates or whatever in a jungle, right? And I got into this situation where the combat bogged down so much into these move and roll, move through the woods, rolling to fire arrows, arrows being fired back. But these guys that they were chasing, initially I was like, they're being tactical. My pirates are being tactical and they're doing this sort of move and they're actually baiting the players somewhere, right? But I didn't really think about the logistics of this type of thing like happening on the table. So it just became, within like 15 minutes, it was like 15 minutes. It was like, this is fucking boring. Like, this is just boring. Like what they're doing. I felt so bad. And I literally had to stop the game. I stopped the game and I said, okay, time out. Let me just be frank with you guys. We need to, this is obviously not working. This is not fun. And I want to work with you guys let's figure out how we can kind of just get out of this quicksand that we're standing in. Because it was just terrible. And I felt just bad, and that sucks as you're the DM and so I'm like embarrassed and I'm just kind of like frustrated with myself, not being able to figure out a way out of this situation. But I think as a counterpoint, my stopping the game and just talking openly with the players was the best thing I could have done. And then we all just chilled for, a few minutes. We talked about it and they were like, we all just talked about what was wrong. And we figured out a way together how to get out of this muck that we were in so that we could continue the game and get it going. But yeah, that was that's just the most recent mistake that I've made. I mean, there's all kinds of mistakes you make as a DM, or that I make anyway. But yeah, that's one example.
Nice. Well, yeah, that's one amazing thing about this game that we play, is that it is a game and it's mostly a conversation, and so we can change things on the fly. And I'd like to see Baldur's Gate 3 do that. It can't. It can't do that.
It also won't let you pan the POV around, and I literally can't. It drives me nuts.
All right, so we will wrap things up there. Ignatius, why don't you give us another plug for who you are and your channel?
Sure. I'm Ignatius. You can find me at Tabletop Alchemy on YouTube, and yeah, like I said before, new video every Thursday. Trying not to miss that schedule. So yeah, go there and hang out. There's a lot of good people that comment on the videos. We have a good little community going over there, and it's generally positive over there. It's cool.
Nice. So Ignatius, hang on just a second. I'm going to wrap up here and hit the button. Okay. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.